Got some highly sensitive information on here where it's something that's gonna ask. Yeah, I don't. No. They said they're looking at the security on with all that school. That's like delivery. I mean, no, I don't. Yeah, I would have difference. Because it's not Microsoft. I don't know, Microsoft. I don't think sure it's not. It creates more problem.
Oh, so you said it's on the same.
Yeah.
I'll go to that. Then they put a 5-year hold on it, so like I originally, I would earn it. But then they put a.
No, it's not, it's,
Now they just go for some healthcare. Biggest slim trucking.
And then the corners weren't bad. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, they picked it, but I'm in and so. Yeah.
yeah, that's what, as soon as I got the, they finally sent it out, and the moment they did, I heard some essentially.
Oh, Robin Hill.
They, I mean, I followed it a couple days before then, so they got. I thought we could be so you're for this.
Second. That was the.
Okay.
And similar functions, they got here from them. We think. And that's all right. Well,
It's like.
They're, it'll get there.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I mean, there is some notion bar, it's always had a play of owners, but people don't process them. Never get away about the environmental savings.
And that didn't.
This has got all that.
Exactly. That's always been the case.
It's.
So the resource. And we'll apologize to them. So one of my long-standing stories is there was one time, actually even when I was chairman.
Yeah.
This was with the Ailing Commission, so I worked with one of the Secretary of State's office. There wasn't much on the agenda. And there were only 5 members, 3 of 5 made it.
And then you have to.
Nobody
was in and say, okay, no,
Chairman wasn't.
you're mine.
Alcides was the vice chair.
And then you have to add a new window.
I mean, because it was like,
On this schedule.
it was just.
And you think they didn't know places. Well,
It did the whole agenda, got
I'm
done,
trying to get all the
you
time.
know, they left.
I did,
About 10 minutes later, Chuck Schneider, who's local.
when I put it in, that's the day.
Walking in.
Travel, so it's so.
They are.
This. Go back in, correct. So that's why you got 3 moment, because there were. As I said, I was trying to.
Yeah.
We're like totally surprised. Right. Well, and like I said, there's things that, tries of getting, you just find the clean, I think, they, and then relates it up. And so.
Maybe all the part over.
Whatever is the problem, you go out.
And we may have.
That's what makes this say.
Yeah.
I am not. Oh, okay, now.
No, just go, just D5, D5 warm bodies. Yeah, you go to the other side. No, we used to walk around the other side, where's it?
I know,
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut this up to people. Yes.
Yeah, right.
It's funny, but it's not. Watch us everything. Mr. Harold. Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. I need to send back your station. Like I said, it should be real. That's what you might be. Sorry.
Sorry about
Well, taking a bad seat.
just heard.
I'm sorry.
I apologize. I thought we were on 19. All of you, I try to hustle over as fast as possible.
Good job. You're 10 minutes. Section load is 55. We're not leaving.
Did a little, so I wondered if we were on one and then I realized not even in the same building. Okay, all
Yep.
right. Good to know. Yeah. Oh, well, now that I'm sharing, it's a little more.
That's how it felt. Actually, yeah, we're worried about, we can't start with that, so, you know.
You know, shots of past.
Maybe a muffin.
When I'm sure to get my shirt, you go strolling in, after 9 o'clock, services already start. This is no different.
So, my boss, that's right, so.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so you don't know why it's silence, my phone and I'm watching. Yeah. They always have this needs to tell you to get it out. So. But.
I did inherit my old thing, so.
Yeah.
Mine for doing mine for a half hour, he's left at 4 o'clock. Well, that was for me, yes, and you might not have to go down. The computer can say that nothing with the work. Something like this. And so I was sorry. That he used to tell me. Oh, that's lying. And he's.
Hey, Phil, I talked that with you. Again, they're not stuck here, ask you those things.
So
It's up to you. I just think we'll see people here walking and shopping and actually that one.
but it's funny. He scrolls in like 4 hours later. I said, Dad, like it's late. I must not be gonna be late. I must have supposed to do it. He didn't like saying. He said. I'm proud of myself, even though I so really just well. We had I finally had a point I got to make it.
Or present.
Expensive, which I got out here. Expensive. Music, I got to be like 6 weeks. Okay, I do think it's that day for so we gotta find out what things they need. I'm like, thanks.
I always. That's.
Okay, so here's for the first time, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just need more. I can try to. So it's sensitivity. Not on certain. Since you have to go. Used to do. Those criminal.
I'd like to call the May 16, 2024 meeting of the Ohio Elections Commission into place. Village of 19.
File, President, Mr. Knight.
Here.
Mr. Pershing. Ms. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Carroll. Present. Mr. Wilkie. Here. Chair of the meeting today, Chair A, Vice Chair A.
Present.
Thank you. The chair, Tavares is traveling. She is not present. Mr. Wilkie is here in her stead.
Great. At this time, we'd like to elevate the minutes. Do we have any questions or recommended amendments to the minutes from last meeting?
What was, just quickly from what was originally circulated to you last week, Mr. Knight noticed something, a very minor change, including paragraph that I made when I sent out the updated minutes yesterday, included that change. Other than that, does somebody else have a comment on the minutes? I think they're ready for approval.
Second.
Right. We will pass around that copy for your signature. And then we're going to go ahead and move into the preliminary review. Starting.
Madam Chair. Yeah. If I make a motion, excuse.
Sure, absolutely. Second. Okay. So, are there any objections? Hearing none. We want to take.
Yeah, no, don't think. Just take it. No. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move into the preliminary review portion of the meeting, starting with the Rosenberger v. Marshall case, case number 2024D-014. Is anybody present that would like to present on the case today?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, this is a disclaimer case. Complainant asserts the respondent did not include a proper disclaimer on certain campaign materials. The respondent submitted a response indicating there was a miscommunication in his printing company. Once the error was brought to the candidate's attention, labels were and subject to all materials. My recommendation is to find the violation of both times to be held.
Seeing that notice is present, does any of the members of the commission have questions at this time? Or any motions?
I will move acceptance of the executive director's recommendation.
Mr. Colkey. Do we have?
I'll say.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Seeing there's been a motion and a second to accept the executive director's direction of a violation and a $50 fine. And there are no objections. Do you want to all in favor? Aye. Okay, passing 7-0. Next case number 2, Bull v. Drenda, case versus Knox Committee, case number 2024D-016.
There are the respondent and the counsel for the, the complainant and a respondent for counsel present, Madam Chair. This too is a complaint that asserts the respondent did not include a proper disclaimer on certain campaign materials or the ad and a proper disclaimer, different from the actual convening the board. A response was submitted to the commission. They say she knew the arena. Commenced her campaign in 23. We requested my outline of the response. If the parties are present and want to have an opportunity to address the commission, we can certainly come forward and address the commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Margaret Ann Rural, and
You need to be sworn. You can be sworn in the statement.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear from the top truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My complaint is about the fact that I have been an elected official for over 33 years. I've gone through all the trainings and everything, and I always watch for compliant things. And I noticed that Mrs. Kesey did not follow the rules, basically. Her disclaimer was never the same. And it's not what she filed with the local board of elections. So I'm here to appeal to you that she did violate our rules and regulations. She also, and it's not part of the complaint, but she also did get elected as the commissioner. And she does advertise that she is the commissioner. And in my opinion, she's not the commissioner until after the November election. She states that once she was elected in March, that she was, you know, that's who the solar would be. It's my understanding no one's filed prior to the primary, but my understanding is that a writing candidate could file. So therefore, I think that's another violation that my attorney told me that I couldn't really file it, but I thought I'd mention it. So, anyhow, that's pretty much my objections to Mrs. Keithy, and I'll be happy. Thank you for hearing me, and we'll take any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mrs. Roll. Are there any questions of the commission members at this time? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Ms. Casey, would you like to take us again?
Farina, is it Reeser?
It's Karina Reeser.
Reeser.
Apologies.
Council for the respondent.
Yes,
Please be so.
No, she counsel, she.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Cassie is here if she needs to come and speak, but I believe that the response speaks for itself, and we've taken the actions necessary to make sure we're compliant going forward. So,
Members of the commission, are there any questions for Mrs. Casey's representation? Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, my recommendation is to find a violation and post a fine of $50.
Are there any motions from the commission members?
I have a question that's for the record. Kind of, guess it's consistent with most of these here, but just like to understand a little better about the $50 fine. I know at times we take the view of, hey, compliance is what we're looking for, and it can tend to be how long it took, but there seems to be a situation where the candidate found out the issue and took corrective action. I'm just wondering why we're doing a fine as opposed to a good cause.
Primarily what I looked at it as, that certainly was done, but there were also multiple committee names used on materials at various times. Before, I guess I'd say she finalized the name of the actual committee that she was using forward. And so I think with all of those circumstances, merited fine.
Which the, I could please the maximum possible fine if you could have
$500 for a disclaimer.
10%.
Yes.
Any additional questions amongst the members, or is there a will of any commission member? on motion?
Madam Chair, I'll move the director's recommendation. Second.
Thank you, Member Weil and Kirschner. We have a motion in a second. And knowing that, are there any in opposition? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes 7-0. Okay, the next case we will be hearing is Robin B. Sennenberg. It's number 2024G-012. Phil, you care to give us an update?
Commission members, this complaint asserts that the respondent failed to file certain campaign finance report required by statute in the proper process of filing a campaign finance report. I circulated the response to you. The respondent states that he was informed by the staff and he can file a favor with the board. It's timely. Only later did he receive information indicating he was required to file electronically. What happened was this gentleman ran for, I think it was municipal council in November. And then at the time we filed petitions to run for state representative, he also changed his campaign committee to the secretary's office. And so that obligated the filing of an electronic filing with the secretary's office. And so my recommendation in this set of circumstances is to find violation opposed to fine of $50.
Very good. Is anyone present today that wishes to speak to the case?
Madam Chair, no one signed in.
See,
This or the next case, I'll just. I'll take it.
very good. Appreciate the efficiency. Seeing that there are none, are there any questions of the commission?
Right, and the same question for this one, other than the last, one, why $50 here?
The whole process of changing where you file and how you go through that can be a bit confusing if you're someone who's, well, Mr. Sinneberg has a bit of a history for the commission for us in the fall. I think we posed $100 fine against him there. But the whole process of, changing where you're filing and so forth is something I took into consideration and thought this merited fine, even with his, explanations of him saying the board told him he can do it. But he's got an obligation to figure out where he can file properly.
He did violation.
Not the same.
Not the same, but the candidate is, yes, the candidate was before us in December, I think it was.
And Matt,
No, it was January.
yeah,
Actually, it's January.
This particular candidate, as Commissioner Polk, I thought I recognized the name, had used the campaign account to make personal purchases such as a wig, et cetera. Now, there was some explanation behind why that happened, but nevertheless, we found Mr. Sandberg in violation at that time. Mr. Richter, what was the? I feel like there was another one after that too, that we found no violation.
I believe that off the top of my head, I should have had that more listed here. I apologize for that. That may have been the case. This is not the first time for us. But yeah, actually what it was, now I think about it, a complaint was filed against him asserting that he improperly used his campaign funds for personal reasons. We found a violation that was fined $100. Then essentially the same complaint was brought against him. And for that, we found no violation because we'd already had a finding. Then we have this back here again. And while oftentimes I could think of, increasing the fine amount to a higher level because of this set of circumstances, the nature of his response in terms of saying what direction he got from the Board of Elections staff. I talked briefly with the Board of Elections staff as well. And, changing where you're filing and how you go about filing. I thought I took all of that into consideration. I believe coming up with this recommendation of imposing only a $50 fine.
Mr. Vetted record, did he verify whether he filed the paper report on time as he did in his response?
He
He
did.
did. And has he paid all fines to date?
Yes.
Madam Chair, question of the executive director. I think, Mr. Richter, in your conversation with County Board of Election, did they verify that Mr. Summer had engaged in the response talks about,
Yes.
the working group, so they verify that's indeed in good faith.
Yes. So yes, I talked with them. About it. So yes, I confirmed that they worked with him, encouraged that, but I think they also, I would say they didn't discourage him taking other steps, but they did talk about it.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Mr. Ricker, I want to be clear here. So when I'm looking at Exhibit A, on his paper filing, he did file 1/25/24. And it's stamped by the Board of Elections for that date, which would have been timely, correct? Correct. This is his paper file, correct? So did he actually get the advice from the Board of Elections that this paper filing was the only thing he needed to do?
Based on my
Is
conversation,
that what they said?
based on my conversation with staff of the board, I don't believe that to be the case. I think they wanted to file paper with them. I don't know that they really addressed what other obligations he had with the secretary's office. Based on my conversation with staff.
Yeah, because his statement says that he basically relied on
Right.
the Board of Elections. They told him to file paper, and he did file it timely. So, correct. I wanted to know.
Right, and, but I think what it came to was filing, essentially, he went through the whole year as a local candidate, as a city council candidate. And that, then we file that with them to essentially kind of close out, as it were, and reflect what the nature of his activity was, through the year, as it were. Then, but he still had the obligation to file electronically once he established himself with the secretary's office. And essentially switched his committee, which he did at the time that he filed his petition, which I can't remember the exact date, but it was late December. She was filing deadline date for becoming a state representative.
Madam Chair, if I could, just to kind of combine on that, Mr. Ricker. Did the respondent provide the evidence to support his position about the Board of Elections statement?
Just what you wrote, there was nothing else. And like I said, I talked with the staff and they did indicate that they had a conversation with him, did work with him, giving that fun time.
But that the Board of Elections wanted more than this.
No, the board was fine with it. And it was his filing in the secretary's office, the electronic filings in the secretary's office that he was obligated.
Because he was in a candidate for the General Assembly, which require
Right.
online.
It was like 7 or 8 days, essentially, but the committee was created in 2023, which obligates him to file with the secretary's office.
Chair to the director. So are we of the understanding that he is saying he filed with the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections? They advised him to do paper filing, but this was because he had for the city council run up until the point in which he created a new campaign to run for state rep. And then he discovered after the filing with the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections that he would need to file electronically with the state. I am so confused. I'm sorry. I'm trying to
I
make
think
it
you're
make sense.
correct.
Okay,
I think you're correct. That's how I,
And then once he got out, he did such electronic filing,
right.
pretty much immediately.
okay.
So his
Okay.
paper filing was proper. And it was time.
And once he just, after the paper filing is when he discovered that
It
there
was
was
told
no
by the board, right?
filing that needed to
I
happen.
guess the question is, should you?
And there's a different requirement, that, candidates for the General Assembly use. Anybody who know it up there, that, they usually don't online file in the system.
Right.
Local candidates can file paper copies of their DOE, which he was from city council.
Yes.
Right. It's each. Yeah, but I guess, he says in here, the spirit and intent, I mean, he did file at that time. I guess if I filed at that time, if I knew, I would have filed electronically. So
It seems silly to think that he
Yeah.
didn't have,
Yeah.
right? Why would he not, right? It's clearly a misunderstanding. With, yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna make a motion that we find a violation of policy.
Second.
Thank you, Member Lyle and also Member Knight. We have a motion to find a violation, or you said, apologize, good cause and no fine. No fine. Are there any in opposition? Signify by saying nay.
Next.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes 6-1. Great, the next case we have is Perkins v. Citizens to elect Eric Sennenberg, case number 2024-013.
This is a complaint that asserts that the respondent did not include the proper disclaimer of certain campaign materials. The respondent submitted a response, said that the was not circulated by deep offense of Democratic Party. And if you look at the materials in question, there is proper disclaimer of those materials. And so my recommendation here is for the violation.
I move to adopt the recommendation.
Second.
There has been a motion made to accept the recommendation of the executive director. All in opposition signify by saying nay. All in opposite, or all in support, seconded by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next case under consideration is Stephen v. Make Liberty Wen, case number 2024G-010.
Madam Chair, moving to the commission. Plaintiff's presence. No one appears to be present for the. No one appears to be present for the respondent. The complaint asserts the respondent failed to include a proper disclaimer on certain campaign literature that was circulated. The counsel for the respondent provides a lengthy outline of the statutory provision. Also, the application of those provisions for the respondent in a situation that led to the material being circulated without the required disclaimer. Part of the response, there was no disclaimer on a piece of literature that explains the minimal impact that the failure to include the disclaimer made, considering all material circulated by the respondents did include the disclaimer. Certainly, if the plaintiff would like to be present and heard, it appears so. My recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $50. I will add that the next case that the commission will take up is essentially the same matter, but different circumstances, different candidate, different materials, although essentially the same situation. And the response that was submitted was essentially exactly the same response. And so Mr. Deacon will be sworn. He can at least briefly address the commission as it relates to the complaint.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, thank you. I'll be very brief. This is one of the Ohio 77th House District is Wayne County, no more, no less. We're a constitutional district. We are a land of law and order. We insist on accountability. One of my many hats that I wear is I am Wayne County Republican Party chairman, and I believe that we ought to police our own. And I hear a lot of people complaining about the way campaigns are run, but then when it's all over, nobody magically seems to file any complaints. Well, I'm here to start filing complaints because I insist on people being held to account for their actions. And there's another one later on that I'll have essentially the same speech, so you can just recycle that one. Yes, we need campaign finance disclosure statements, and we ought not allow it to become a habit that they be omitted. This is very simple. It's very narrow. It is very concise. I asked that the commission impose a penalty upon a respondent that will cause others to consider it very bad idea to omit the campaign finance disclaimers. Thank you, and I will answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Deacon. Are there any questions from commission members at this time? You're getting off the cookies, and
Thank you, Madam Chair.
you're welcome having.
Stay there for a second as we finish concluding this.
All right, is there any deliberation amongst the members? Any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move to accept the recommendation of the executive director.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the violation and $50 fine. Case number 024G-010. All in opposition signify by saying nay. Okay. All in support signify by saying aye. Aye. That motion passes 7-0. Mr. Deacon, in regards to the other case that you referenced, case number, I'll have the commission members turn their attention to page 6 of the agenda. Item number 9, Deacon grant for state rep. No service was received to that other party of this case, and so we are going to be continuing that case. We do apologize for the inconvenience in your travel, but just wanted to let you know that so you weren't sitting around waiting for that case to come up.
I genuinely appreciate that explanation, and it's no trouble at all. It was enjoyable to come down here. Thank you very much.
I wouldn't mind asking you, you might want to be in touch with my assistant Chris, if you can potentially get a different or better address. I think you only addressed the campaign committee for them. And when I checked on certified mail, it was undeliverable, or I mean, it was unclaimed. We have not gotten it back yet, but because I knew about it, I had indicated to Chris, let's go ahead and send regular mail. If there's any other information you may have on addresses for the respondent in that case, I don't know what you do, please call the office and pass on if you have any other information.
I will gladly cooperate whatever way that I can. The respondent in this case did not live within the county up to not very long before filing deadline, and it's unknown whether or not it now does, and generally seems to eschew conformance with the obvious rules and regulations of seemingly much of anything.
Okay.
So,
Understood.
and that's to say nothing of the stunning performance of our post office.
Yeah, understood. Just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
All right, well, for efficiency's sake, as the chair on item number 9, case number 024G-0118, I'm going to issue continuance officially. So we will come back to the agenda, back on, actually moving from page 3 to 4.
Yep.
Case number 8, Brothers versus Make Liberty Win et al. Case number 2024G-017.
You heard my explanation already, commission members, so I don't want to go through that explanation again. Jonathan McGee, counsel for the respondents present. Mr. McGee, if you would care to come forward, I'm going to address the commission. Again, this is a disclaimer case where the assertion is essentially that an independent expenditure was made when there should have been a disclaimer on campaign materials.
Chair Hagan, members of the commission, I'm not going to belabor the point. I mean, he already went through and did a nice job, I think, explaining what's going on here. However, I would like the board to ask for a more substantial penalty, as this is a hearing committee. They are not unsophisticated. They obviously were using the mail house, and they spent over $2 million, according to the clothing dealer here in Ohio, on 4 different communities. So I think that it would merit a higher fine than $50. Thank you.
Mr. McGee, do you have a recommendation what that fine might be in your opinion?
It should be the maximum.
And executive director, what is the maximum in this case?
Essentially for failure to include a property, it would be $500. This is essentially it's an expenditure argument, but it cross-references 3517. And so that's how you get to the disclaimer requirement, which is the issue here. In that, when it's circulated certain materials, it did not include the proper disclaimer.
Do we have, if I'm sure, a sense of the distribution of this piece of literature? How broadly was it distributed?
Within the,
Is there how many items?
I have the budget. But it was as well as others. Was not the only piece that was submitted by this.
This is a legislative race.
Correct.
You don't disagree that this was the only one that failed to appropriate this money?
The only one that I know of.
Madam Chair, if I may, I do believe that we just fined the group $50 for the first violation. There is now a second violation. Obviously, just looking at the mail, it came from a mail house, a sophisticated design job, probably using the same universes. So I would recommend, or my position is a higher penalty than $50, particularly for a second violation back to back.
Is there any additional questions, or are there any additional questions, or is there any conversation remaining members of the commission?
I'd like to hear executive director.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I kind of struggled with this a little bit just because we had these two cases back to back and whether there should be a greater fine. I finally decided to come back with a recommendation that I did, just kind of treating both as first time violations. It may seem strange to say it that way, but that's kind of where my recommendation comes from. I can't necessarily make a whole lot of arguments against what Mr. McGee is either offering, recommending, however you want to phrase it. But this is and I didn't feel like I could consolidate these. Sometimes we'll consolidate cases when you have similar parties, but I didn't feel like I could consolidate these into one case because you had different materials and different state rep races, different complainants, etc. Sometimes you can put them together. I didn't feel like that was the case here. These were separate pieces and separate circumstances. And so I don't, I mean, if the commission decides they want to impose a greater sanction, I'm not going to say you're great for doing that. I just struggled with exactly what recommendation to make. And so, like I said, I kind of just looked at this as, considering this is their first time for this organization, I appreciate the fact that I think Mr. McGee is correct. This is a sophisticated organization, but it's their first time coming into the state of Ohio. And so, like I said, I kind of put all those things together, and that was from the basis of my recommendation. I'll try to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Madam Chair, during your struggle of coming up with a recommendation, where if you would, where were you bouncing to? You were struggling.
I was looking at either $100 or $150 as a second. Just kind of just, looking at it as a standard commission. Okay, first time, second time, set circumstances. And one other thing I think to consider is, based on their response and a general understanding I have concerning this group, it appears that the first, some of these first pieces that they circulated did have a disclaimer. Then they recognized it and they sent out multiple pieces, as I think he indicated. And all subsequent pieces had a disclaimer on it. And so they were within the statute. That was another factor that, I thought was appropriate to consider as I went about making her recommendation.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or conversation amongst the members of the commission? Seeing none, is there a motion? Don't allow too much excitement at once.
Yes, Madam Chair, just for some deliberation purposes, I'm prepared to make a motion for $150. I also want to make sure there's some consensus among the commissioners before I do so.
Does anybody disagree with the fine gentleman from, I'm not sure what county you're from.
Madam Chair, I'm just looking what Mr. Richter said, and based on policy and penalties that he just distributed last before this meeting. And the second clearly states that second appearance for the commission will find about generally $100 prior to.
Technically, this would be considered prior to it wasn't the case. I'm sorry, I just jumped in. What you were saying?
Well, I misspoke. It doesn't say, it says second appearance before the commission will find about generally $100 opposed to which is filed required to report submitted the requested applicant. So
That's a minimum, so I mean, it seems as though it wouldn't be appropriate in any amount that you recommend. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I will make that motion. Fine violation and post a fine of $150. I'll second.
Okay, right, we have a motion to impose or to find a violation, impose a fine of $150. Any in opposition signify by saying nay.
Aye.
Okay, all in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes favorable of 6-1. Thank you very much, Mr. McGee, for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, the next case we'll be considering is 6 on the agenda, O'Brien versus D'Angelo, case number 2024G-011.
Yes, the complaint, both the complainant and counsel for the respondent are present. This complaint essentially asserts that the respondent failed to file certain campaign finance report as required by statute, asserting that expenditures were such that a candidate who filed a waiver should have subsequently filed a post-election, a more complete post-election report for having expended money beyond what the statutory item is, but the statutory amount is for only filing an indication that you complied with waiver requirements. In the complaint, in the affidavit complaint, there are certain listings as it relates to expenditures that would reflect it might be $100,000 level, and so or in excess of $2,000. So the complainant, Mr. O'Brien, is here. and Patrick Quinn, counsel for the respondent, are also present. And the commission can hear from both parties if they so choose. And my recommendation at this point was, again, to be determined only because I had 3 conversations with Mr. Quinn in advance of the meeting. He indicated he was trying to get a response here, but I didn't have a response. So I didn't have a response on which to make a recommendation. Otherwise, I would have said essentially $25 per day. Report was filed, but the commission could hear from Mr. Quinn on behalf of the respondent.
Sure, with the respondents and or complainants, just stand to be sworn in to give a statement.
Mr. O'Brien, are you?
Yeah.
Sure. Let me go first.
Respondents here, see if that's helpful, since you can't see your name plate. They're using it against one another.
Sure. You swear from your top truth, nothing else truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Ran over because I went to the wrong building. I think we're-
That's all right. That's okay.
It's happening.
Bit of a stress level there for a few minutes. I appreciate your time. I agree with Mr. Deacon, although I've never met him. I think finance disclosures are the fundamental aspect. We all see what's going on in the country with money in elections, and certainly at the local level, very local level. People should know what people are spending, where that money is coming from. So I set forth in my letter, Ms. D'Angelo said she didn't exceed the amount, although some of the submissions I gave, she did ads, professional ads that required artwork to be prepared, where she was seeking donation. She said, and I'm sure you didn't get an electronic version, that this very 5-colored graphic artwork, professionally done because of the crease, and mailed out to over 5,000, we believe, residents in that. And like I said, it's a very narrow issue, like Mr. Deacon said. Narrow in the sense that they should be able to provide all receipts and some, checks that they wrote for this material. And if she did not follow the law, then the board is obviously well versed in what they need to do. Anybody have any questions?
Are you able to show that to the executive? Or do we have
It's on.
Okay.
It's
I
a.
just, I found electronic these days, you don't do justice with this very expensive paper.
It's about midway down.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure all the commission members had it. They wanted to see it.
It's got the monopoly in it.
I saw that.
The only thing I'd say is, it's my first time before the board. I've been practicing for close to 30 years with a small firm called TAF, but this is this may be a small issue to some, but this is where it starts. This disclosure is where it starts. And I personally believe that unless a small stream can turn into a raging river in the Grand Canyon, once it's dealt with. So thank you very much.
Are there any questions?
I did have just a question.
Sure, Mr. Cole.
And I didn't see it on, I think it's on here, but one of these documents that you provided, it's paid Sally D'Angelo for Bainbridge trustee and Concord Kenston. Do you know what that's on one of the documents you provided? Was there?
This Ms. Kopp is a perennial candidate, and it appeared that they joined forces in some of in this literature, this mailing to the 5,000 households in Bainbridge. Well, what I did is.
May I interrupt? Sorry, just for a moment. Mind passing one of this around?
Sure.
Member Davis doesn't see it.
What I did was just have this. I just assuming they were going to argue, hey, we split it down the middle. I went out and I think I found the printer that they use, because it's a very well-known printer in Cuyahoga County. And just whatever the quote they gave me for that, I just split it in half, just out of the abundance of thought. I don't know who paid for it.
And, Madam Chair, so it looks like every door direct mail, maybe we can hear some of them responded to. So we don't know the data that was used It was just, when there's EDDM, I think it just hits every box, right, rather than a specified voter. That,
Yes, it would hit every household by the information I could glean from the mailer. It hit every household, and every potential voter.
did you receive one?
I did, yeah.
Did your neighbor?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
and every single, one of my friends, and family, that lived in, I think there's about 6 large subdivisions, got one as well.
Are there any additional questions? Sorry.
Sorry, I don't know.
Second for tap, you sure are scared of the ladies.
Most of the longer out city of Independence, so I know it's different.
Are there any other questions? And you're good. So sorry.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Quinn, counsel for the respondent. I do have a written response, which if I may, approach and share with everyone. And this is fairly. You. There. So I actually agree with the principle that the rules are important, the rules need to be followed, and one of those rules is that this commission doesn't take up complaints that aren't based on personal knowledge. And this is not a complaint that's based on personal knowledge. This is a complaint that's based on Mr. O'Brien is the complainant's speculation or supposition as to what the respondent spent per campaign. His supposition, speculation isn't backed up by actual documents or actual evidence. It's his guesswork. We heard some kind of suggestion during the oral presentation this morning as to what it appears that Mr. O'Brien did, for example, contact different printing companies, get a quote, and assume that that must have been the cost, because that was what was quoted as a given, as a hypothetical quote by a printing company, for example, that must be what the respondent spent. That's not correct. What we have here is what I've provided you this morning is Ms. D'Angelo's sworn response, in which she attests to not exceeding the $2,000 limitation that flows from a local candidate waiver. Her actual expenditures were about $1,800, which is within the statutory amount, and therefore her use of and reliance on the local candidate waiver was proper. So I think what you have is a complaint here that isn't based on personal knowledge, isn't based on actual evidence. It's based on speculation and guesswork, and this commission's rules don't allow for that. Putting all of that aside, is this response also notes this is D'Angelo has taken the voluntary step of filing a campaign finance report anyway. So, there were some discussions in some of the earlier cases. There's some references in the earlier cases of one of the issues or one of the principal goals that this commission seeks to further is compliance. And of course, it's our position that we comply with the local candidate waiver statute. But even if this board or even if the commission were to disagree, the respondent has gone ahead, she's voluntarily filed the campaign finance report with the local board of elections. And so even if the commission does complain, so given all of that, given the ambiguity in the complaint, the lack of a sufficient basis, the lack of a complaint which states a claim to use a lawyer speak, as well as the fact that she's taken the voluntary step of voluntarily filing a report, I would respectfully suggest that the appropriate disposition here would be dismissal. And I'm happy to answer any questions which there may be.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for just a moment. Are there any questions of the commission members at this time?
Madam Chair, can we have just a moment or two to consume the response? For those folks that I can't listen and read at the same time. So if we could add even
You have injustice and most actually off the commission.
That's it.
Yes, we will give you 2 minutes.
Thank you. I know we need about a minute. So.
It's a good 6 friends, so we're moving quick. because I don't sit still well. There are receipts attached to this report that was submitted for these items.
So from my understanding, yes, I didn't personally file the report. It was filed with, Geauga County, I believe, is Board of Elections. So I've not seen it. To my understanding, though, reports as part of the report, it's just, to my understanding, it's just a cover page.
Counselor, I don't understand that this, when was this campaign finance report filed?
Yesterday or perhaps the day before.
So 5/15 was filed yesterday. When was it required to be filed?
Never, because she was satisfied the local candidate waiver statute. But if one were to assume that she needed to file a report, it would have been, it was the most general, so I don't recall the exact date, but it would have been late November, early December. But again, I mean, our position is that, you know, the statute says you don't need to file a full report if you, for certain offices, if you don't exceed $2,000. And our position is, you know, that's actually what happened, because we did not exceed that amount.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So I understand there was no payment outlay, monetary outlay for the artwork.
Yes.
Wouldn't that qualify as an in-kind contributions would need to be added into the report, which could quite likely, based on what we saw, that you over $2,000.
Well, what we have, I think what we have to take into account is what the complaint says. And the complaint says, well, the artwork must have been $200. And that's not.
That's not my question. My question is, somebody created that artwork, right? It looks like it's pretty professional, right? So, there should be an in-kind, right? If I'm a producer of art for those types of materials, and I choose not to charge you, but I typically charge 500, that is an in-kind contribution. But who created the artwork, or was it maybe for high school child who did it for free, and there is no in-kind? And that's what I'm asking.
I don't know the answer to that question, but what you hit on is exactly why this commission has a personal knowledge requirement that relates to your complaints, because it is certainly possible that it was done by the candidate, it was done by a family member, or a friend, you know, something that would not constitute any kind of contribution. It is, you know, anything's possible. It could have come from a professional artist as an in-kind contribution. I don't know, or I personally don't know the answer, but my point is neither respectfully does the commission, because the complaint doesn't give us any reason to either one or the other. And if that's the case, then we ought, that points towards a dismissal.
I'm going to take a minute to apologize to Commission Member Ray for my rustiness as a chair. I granted you 2 minutes that we did not provide you. So if you did, so kindly, I jumped in, and then others with similar patience issues.
I was grateful, sure. But was able to move on. And I have read the document and have some questions, if I can.
And I apologize.
Commissioner Knight.
Okay. Go ahead.
Were you done with your inquiry?
With that, okay. But wait,
Do you want to go ahead or do you want me to go?
please go.
Okay.
I'll blame.
Sir, what is your name? Mr.
Quinn.
Mr. Quinn, thank you. So a couple of things, and Commissioner Knight may have asked this as well. I apologize. I can't multitask, so I just kind of zoned out. But I said verbal. So I'm having, as far as the personal knowledge,
Yes.
this commission in the past, you know, personal knowledge, because the complainant is a constituent and received part of a mail project, for example. I understand what you're saying, but he's a voter in the township, right?
Township.
I'm having trouble though with the postage for the direct mail and the printing, and obviously I'll take the response on its face as truthful and accurate. But, you know, postage is expensive, and so is printing. And so do you happen to, does your client have receipt documentation, of, postage for direct mail of $217. The artwork, I think you guys talked about, but the printing of the direct mail of $104. I understand that could have been doubled because there was a split lid. I guess. That is a really, really small universe. So by the time you add up the expenditure for the postage and the printing, so it is your client's assertion that it was a small universe. It was just because you can block it, you can block it by neighborhood or by, or postal route, right? I think it is. Yeah. So you don't necessarily, I guess my thing is, you don't necessarily get to say how many you're mailing. You pick a route and they tell you how many that you need to provide. And respectfully, I think the number's low. And I want to be careful not to, say that it's an answer.
I can appreciate where you're coming from. I get that. There's a cash, this is a cash basis of account. She paid what she paid. And if it's $217, it's $217, high, low, or indifferent. So that, what universe that captured, I couldn't tell you. So as far as the postage goes, sure, certainly it could have been higher if it was a bigger universe or a bigger mail piece or something like that, but that's what she actually spent. That's what the response is. As it relates to the printing, think of how something may be printed. There's, plenty of things that can be printed that are not at a professional, Kinko's, coffee shop. Again, I take your point about the personal knowledge issue, and this is something that the executive director and I battled on for probably my entire career. However, there is a distinction between personal knowledge because I got the document or I got the mailer or I heard the speech or whatever the context is, and personal knowledge that this is how much it must cost, particularly when, you have this complaint, which is drafted very carefully by a very talented lawyer from as you say, a small firm, I think, known as Taft. That is very clear or very cautious to say, information and belief, and it attaches, for example, some printed, quotes or estimates that are not actual estimates that my client received or solicited. It's estimates that he went out and solicited. So, well, that must have been what it cost. This is guesswork. So I take your point about his personal knowledge because he received the mail, the literature. It is not personal knowledge to say he has the first clue where it was printed, how much was paid for it, etc. Who does know that is the respondent, who has said in her response what was paid.
Madam Chair, I could follow up. Us. Is the respondent here today?
No, she's not.
The respondent served as the campaign's treasurer.
That's right.
And filed this campaign finance report and signed the affidavit yesterday.
Filed the report yesterday. I don't recall within the last couple of days. Yeah, it was also yesterday. Yes.
Help me understand. We take time to prepare for these hearings. Why the documentation to address Fairway's concern wasn't provided to us in advance?
Because with respect, the process has to be, in my view, and I think the rules reflect this, is that you have a complaint that alleges a claim on personal knowledge. And I don't think you have this. You have I think.
Well, you took the time to provide the affidavit.
Yes, that's correct.
Thus acknowledging that it was important to provide it to our committee.
Yes.
Why wasn't it provided for today?
Well, the campaign finance report, which is kind of which is an important piece of that, was filed late today. And frankly, with my schedule, I didn't get a chance to get it over here prior to that. So that is.
And as it relates to this documentation.
Yes.
Do you have receipts?
My understanding is my client does. I personally do not.
So she
As-
served as her own treasurer,
Correct, that's correct.
has receipts because she must, but didn't provide them with this last minute affidavit campaign finance.
Because my understanding,
That's correct, right?
that is factually correct, yes.
Could she provide those receipts and documentation to us and also to address Mr. Carey's concern, provide an explanation of how the artwork was prepared?
I'm certain she could. However, I would again respectfully suggest that that is not something she is or should be required to do, because that all presumes that we have a valid complaint based on personal knowledge that would allege an actual violation of the campaign finance clause, which I respect.
I just wanted to make sure that she could presumably provide information for us if we requested.
You know, I'm her counsel, so I'm going off what I understand, but to my understanding, yes.
Sure. Question to the executive director. Mr. Executive Director, just want to make sure that I am recalling the bar correctly. We're at the preliminary review stage. So what is the standard for advancing the hearings?
If we believe that there's probable cause.
Probable cause, that's what I thought.
Violation, then we've set it for a hearing at a later date.
Oh, it is. Okay.
If we don't believe that there is sufficient amount of evidence currently available, then the commission to make a final resolution, whether it's violation or violation. So,
And
There's also an option continuous if we wanted to wait to have that additional.
the commission could continue.
And correct. In your opinion, has the personal knowledge bar been met in this case?
The jurat for the notary is a little different than normal, but in looking at the affidavit itself, it does say the Gregory will even being for duly sworn states on as follows, and he lays out all those things. And then he did sign it for the notary public. So I believe that's the case, yes.
Madam Chair, if I may, one additional thing. As I explained, the other thing, and I took this to Mr. Richter a couple of minutes ago, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't speaking out of turn. If you take a look at the campaign finance report, the shape cover page, is there, I believe is that a 30A?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I just wanted to go over this, not to nitpick, but $1,620 with the total monetary contributions.
Correct.
And then you have the value of in-kind contributions received at $368.58.
Yes.
So that's a total of $1,988.58. And then so the math isn't working for me. As far as the outstanding debts owed by the committee. Yes. The total monetary expenditures, there were monetary expenditures, right?
Yeah, I believe so, but I think the answer to your questions, that these were things that were loaned by the candidate to the committee,
Okay.
paid, and that's why you have an outstanding debt of just over $1,800.
Mr. Quinn, do you know if your client filed the statement of expenditures or the statement of contributions?
To my understanding, she did, because, of course, no board of elections is going to take a cover page without a backup. I personally don't have it. I personally haven't seen it, so I can't, hand to God say that, but that is my understanding.
It would be helpful for us to see. Thank you very much.
Is there any other question?
I have.
Executive director's and questions.
You're aware under waiver situation, when you file that you're obligated to file something
Yes,
at the post-election timeframe.
correct.
December 15th.
Right.
I don't see anything in here that says that was filed, either in his complaint or in your response. And I just went on the Jaga website, only gives you the connection to the Secretary of State's e-filing system.
Right.
Do you know if that was filed?
I don't know one way or the other if either, obviously a campaign finance report was not filed. Whether the, statement that, and I forget the form number, but the statement that I complied with the local candidate waiver statute. I presume that was filed. I don't know the answer. Certainly, we don't have anything in the complaint about it. Certainly a well-represented and competent complainant as we have here, had it not been filed, presumably would have brought it to the commission's attention. But I can't directly answer that now.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions for the respondent? The statement, thank you for your contribution. I do sense that the complainant would like to say something based off of this.
I think I can help, Madam Chair. I think I can help.
Sure. Is it the water commission?
Just, it's a simple comment. And I think Mr. Quinn's done a good job trying to find a procedural technicality to get his client out of this mess. But if you really understand the fundamental essence of what he's telling you, no one could reach the bar he's telling. That's the personal knowledge, because someone would have to have the checks or the lack of checks or the receipts or the lack of receipts. That's why the personal knowledge, as the executive director said it out, went out and proved personal knowledge that she had to far exceed the 2,000, where that money came from. I also heard Mr. Quinn say, well, there may have been some cash, so there may not be receipts. Every candidate in John Wayne County gets a John County finance reminder, and it says every expenditure over 25 must have a canceled check for paid vendors. That's why I said it's a very narrow issue. I would think a crafted attorney with very experience talking to the executive director would have submitted those receipts. And they better be third-party receipts. And that's all we're asking, is for them to justify that they spent less than the 2,000 required. And if they didn't, then this whole charade of this affidavit should be taken into consideration when this board meets out its penalty, because that is more serious than failing to submit their report on time. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have-
Respondent for the.
You're doing that.
I gotta stay out here, okay? We're gonna have to.
Exactly. Are you aware of whether the post-election
I did not see one.
statement was filed?
I did not see one. Was that the focus of my complaint?
No, it wasn't, but that's,
But that, it should be easily discernible by getting a copy of it.
oh, I don't disagree. It's just,
I didn't, when I asked.
some counties have an accessible database for even their paper filings. And looking at geography, they don't. And so that's why I'm asking, because I couldn't see it.
I asked, did a public under 14943 public records request? I didn't get one, but the timing may have overlapped or something.
Yeah, in respect to the commission, please state if you feel differently or would like to go in another direction, but out of appreciation for efficiency and respect that as a fiscal conservative, somebody's paying for both of you. Is there a will for either of you to go out and get the appropriate documentation the next hour? So we're going to be here for other cases, and it might make sense to resolve this today rather than continuance to another day and bring you all back for this rodeo once again.
Sounds very reasonable.
Is that a desire of both parties?
I can certainly try. I don't know that I can do it in the next hour.
Scanners.
Sure, I'll make it easy for Attorney Quinn. I think our Columbus office is right next door, or even maybe in this building. I can give you a number and I'll make sure that someone's on it to get that information. They can PDF it, they can.
No, I get that. It's a question of where, I don't know where my client is. I don't know, this is not, she's not sitting around waiting, for the outcome.
I would be.
Well, okay, well, you would be,
Criminal aspects.
okay, you would be, but he's not. So Madam Chairwoman, I can try. I cannot promise that I will have it within the next hour.
And if not, Executive Director Richter, are we able to reach out to the local and see if they can get it to us?
Well, at least like give the acknowledgement, if somebody are informed.
Betty in the office. Is Betty in the office?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a break, I'd call them.
Okay, well, why don't we take a 5-minute recess and see if we can accomplish something here, and we'll just be right back. All right, thank you, Bill. All right. Rudy Swerson.
So I go there. Go.
What are you? What are you doing after you drink trees?
I just want to say.
It's a lot. Well, I think because everybody comes out this morning. It's all just the same. You're much nervous.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Always go up to something that's big that it's just going to say. It's just fascinating. Station color. Yeah. I mean, why don't you just say? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's kind of it's a really show. It's just be going on. So that looks like that kind of I'm not it's an idea. My brain around this because so I started to so but I think sometimes so that positive the part that's really positive so I'm oh, goodness gracious.
Automation.
Well, not just the, nobody answers the phone.
Oh,
that's how hard it is. I thought you could say something super exciting. You said things are good.
And they're brand is just cutting off.
We're still. I'm going to stay with you. I mean, what people are, what do you think of it? What do you think that's what we have? What are the experiences? Things. I like to bring back the actually some unusual about yeah, I think just the big one is mentioned that it's kind of just gonna make that part. I gotta put it in. I think we're
For Sally and who, I know she submitted something yesterday. I'm looking, I'm glad. I guess the question is relates to that, and we haven't covered it. You know, what was included with it, but more importantly, I'm wondering, was there a post-election filing date by the December 15th deadline Because I know she's filed a waiver and wondered whether the post-election waiver was filed.
I guess she mentioned.
Waiver is not. Okay, 6.4, so we see some comment in Florida.
Sure what he was doing. Yesterday. Criminal stuff.
The executive director of the Western Center, sure, we approved the meeting where that is at this time. I understand. Yeah, we're interested. Possible.
Actually, I moved those, and some say, yeah, we're actually doing a claim. I don't know.
Did you?
They are.
These are the first things that you're seeing, right?
So we try to direct it in there. Sort of. So we, we're working on it. So probably feel safe. So I just think I'm sure.
Thank you.
You guys skip it. No. One people are asking. Did you back down? Yours, it's thinking last night. I was like.
That's great.
It was really actually. I was not.
They used to say like 100.
And then come back and run to the farm.
Now we know.
Yes, so is there anything I can do to call them differently?
Okay, all right, consider it fixed. My goodness. You know what? I came in here thinking I was gonna be sitting over there and then I get thrown for a loop, okay? And I don't sleep. I have 4 kids. All right, now I got all these commission members and nobody even warned me.
Vice chair.
So,
You run the meeting.
hey, you know, it doesn't, it's getting done. You are just like.
The end result.
Running this.
The end, you're right. The end result is exactly the same.
Well, like, those of you that was in your honest guys, you won't stress about the order in which you proceed. Just have conviction in your vote. That's all I said. And so this is taking a little longer than expected, as you heard from Ash. We are on, let's see, 7.
I think this was the top.
Yeah.
And then it'll.
And we'll move quickly.
I figured it was enough.
Any of the large entities, you know, these grand total taking those, so one more things that is.
On each of I think I qualify. We're looking at it like these. I didn't even think about that. I like that.
I don't like it all. If I could do it some type of renegade style, I would feel it. But it's the only way to serve it. How dare you call me that?
You said it yourself.
I know, I meant the statement.
Oh, fair enough. You know? There's definitions.
Well, any elected members have point state.
That's right.
And whatever order, we take a lot of them. Right, like how we choose from Adam, so we.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can.
It's psychology.
I think Bill said the time to. Okay. They didn't call back.
Well, you have some lights in there's also just an in-person thing. But you know, it's got that's.
Right. I'm gonna go home. My husband, what is it? And the scaffold. I'll bring it to the dinner table. We're going to.
There you go.
I can't see them. I can't even read them. I'm just lucky if they, I think they're very much, if they're working. That's something.
Got the gavel there, man. Socks.
That's still very sad.
Give it on.
We do, she's older, she's not gonna be something. Is that what you're saying, you're waiting her to do?
We didn't have practice. You did.
Wow.
That's all plain.
But does she keep them, and create Polish with them?
No.
So it's only a blessing.
We pay. Eat some dough.
Your dog eats socks. That's problematic. I like that as a laundry, you would think, but they still do it.
I saw it. Okay. I saw things this year, it's just showing how kids never put it together. Someone took $100 bill. They wrote that around and they put this on their paper plates over top of it, just in the middle of the living room. And set up the camera and watch the kids stepping over it and walking. Yeah, like $100 bill under the plate, just stuck in the middle of the floor of the living room. And everybody in the house walked over it.
They were like playing video games, fucking like dropping their Doritos on.
I mean, it'd be sure to go around the plate.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
For spare sauce.
It's all-
That's all gone.
He says, that's how they read it. There's the sound. Our dog doesn't do that. She does. She's older, so her faculty's like, oh, there's just really sweet food on the kids. And they're like, she's still like, I'm like, well, you hold it down here. Come on over here. What do you want me to do? You know, if she's down here, it's fair game. Who wants it more? That's the question I'm asking. The dog or you guys? I mean, you haven't learned your lesson.
Whether it was single. We tried to do, first time tour I ever did. I think this is, yeah, it's just maybe we should try to go after dinner. To me, and my wife, then so that we go, and it's maybe, okay, talk about it. So, but Boston, because at least I, it's veterans. Yeah, it's probably the best. Excuse me. It's one of there, I said about Boston.
And while we're waiting, for those that aren't involved in this list, do you want to share who you are so we can try to elevate your care to be heard most efficiently after the William Blake? Anyone else? Anyone else?
David and Bull, Child One Educators,
Okay. Okay.
21.
For the peer hearing, okay. Okay, very good. We'll try to pay special attention to your cases respectively for your time.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
Trustees, three of those.
Yep.
About them trying to elevate them. When I'm not sure needs to be, oh, you guys are, it's gonna be.
I have got to say about today. Every year. It's still not easy. Well, I could.
Yeah.
No, that was a great too. It's like pleasure.
Getting issues on bulls. Yeah.
It's just by freedom. That was what normal. This could do so whatever you want to. Too late, he doesn't. That's very. It's good. No, it's true. The excavators, copies, and so they can imagine beams in wall, get a copy. Yeah, I feel. It's really weird.
But it's current.
Yeah, I have never. Because of what I was about. Yeah. It was the basement. I'm more than the case, we should do all that one, whatever. That's really just the flag.
Right, hopefully our subground back in the
I
way.
think, you know, we apologize. I'm not sure.
Right now, lost.
First, I was gonna say.
Okay, we did different homework.
We could go. We could go.
Could we jump ahead?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we could do.
Did you change?
You still know.
Oh, okay. Are we able to
We could go.
continue this till?
Yeah, just.
After we do these other three, to respect the rest. Okay, all right, out of respect for the others that are here today to testify, we're going to put this case on hold and go ahead and move forward with these three cases where we have folks in attendance. I'm going to go ahead and call 21st item on the agenda under the good cause section, Talawanda Educators Association PAC et al., case number 2024R-109.
Chair, members of the commission, as the chair indicated, this is a good call recommendation sheet. The report is filed. It was a day late. A response was submitted. I talked to council. Responded as well. Essentially, the bottom line, the package, the report was filed, was a day late. The package is determining if the commission wanted to hear further from either the respondent or counsel, certainly you could do so. My recommendation is find a violation, but for good cause, not impose a fine or refer the matter for further prosecution.
That's 109.
109,
Yeah,
correct.
number 21 on page 6. Under good cause.
Thank you.
Yep, there you go. Is it, will here, I'm fine, Gary Wells, you're present, you'd like to be sworn.
Well, Mr. Hager, counsel, or do you have it, Mr. Hager? Okay, that's the treasurer, so he would be sworn. So
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Thank you.
I'd just like to notice when to the commission, it was an inadvertent error. As soon as it was discovered, we filed a report. It's just an oversight. And you see, it was not a very, we weren't active during that time period. Actions been terminated because we haven't been, well, not been proceeding active for some time. Apologies.
Very good. Are there any questions from commission members?
Madam Chair, I just want to say thank you for coming and explaining and working towards compliance. We appreciate waiting today and being patient, sir. Thank you.
There a motion of commission members?
Second.
Right, seeing that there's a motion to accept this as good cause, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And nay. Okay, that motion passes 7-0. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, right.
That better.
Almost, you know.
Wow. Pay attention.
You know what, Madam Chair? You're one of the.
don't take it. Don't.
Man, I really, it doesn't look like you just can't catch a break. All right, very good. We're going to also move forward in the agenda to item number 64 on page 7 of the agenda, for those who have it in front of them. Case Kimberly S. Trinary et al., case number 2024R-152.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, this is for a late filing of closed general report on December 15th. It was filed on January 4th, 2024. The reason why I currently have it as the imposition of a $100 fine is because there was no response submitted to the commission on which I could make a recommendation to the commission. We obviously have Ms. Turner here. She could be sworn. If she was sworn to make a statement, it could change my recommendation then back to $50 fine because of the this from January, let's try it again, December 15th to January 4th, beyond about a 2-week period. But if the commission decided to wanted to go in a different direction and find good cause, I would certainly understand it. Ms. Turner, if you would be sworn, you can make a statement to the commission that explains why the report was not timely filed.
Is one from tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I did.
Thank you.
Please, go ahead.
Because I didn't spend any money on my election, I think I needed to file a final report. That's a truth.
Were you then apprised by the board that you needed to, and so then you went ahead and submitted on
Right.
January?
Somebody from the county told me.
Okay. But your report was an all zero.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Madam Chair, what county did you drive?
Some,
And so you filed within, it was obviously after the 2 year kind of,
Correct. That is an arbitrary time frame that I worked with the commission to try and apply, correct?
Madam Chair, the only grew up in South County, lawyer. Calls. But no fine.
That motion.
Is there any additional discussion?
Right, just a question for Mr. Richter, that he would maintain either a $50 fine or a $100 fine, just to understand the general practice. Would you still recommend a $50 fine? What's their general rationale?
Well, if someone's been, I'll give you the long-winded response. I apologize in advance. The captions are tired of me saying this, but for the longest time, for somebody who was before the commission for the first time, as is the case here, the commission would always find that there was a violation under good cause, none was fined. About 2 or 3 years ago, previous members of the commission believed that it was appropriate for there to be more fines imposed by the commission under circumstances, even with first-time violators such as this. And so in working with the commission over the years, kind of come to an informal process. I mean, there can be other circumstances, but if something is filed, you want about a 2-week period to find a violation, impose a fine of $50. Unless there's other circumstances, something said, something happened, they kept it. And so classically, if a response was filed in the situation, and that was the nature of the response, which is something that I would typically see, my recommendation to the commission for someone not present would be find a violation and impose a fine of $50. That's kind of a standard. $100 here at this point because there was no response. I don't know what how to make a recommendation to the commission as to how I believe the commission should act. And so $100 is the standard for a situation where a report is filed but no response is submitted for the first time. Here, though, when someone shows up, the commission decides they did not want to accept my standard recommendation of $50 fine and go to a good cause level, as Mr. Caraway has indicated. I certainly understand that. As I always say, I'm the recommender. The commission is the decider.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So we have a motion, but we don't have, at least I presume that's standing.
I did not make the motion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I certainly will. Make sure there was some consensus before I go on the same thing.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, I have a formal motion.
Chair, I will make a motion to find a violation and for good cause, impose a fine.
Okay, very good. There's been a motion. All in agreement. Signify. So Koki did second.
Yep.
Okay, very good. That motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And in opposition?
No.
Okay, that was on 2. So that motion passes 5-2. Very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Travel safely. We know that's a long one. Okay, very good. We're going to move on to case for agenda item number 71. William Blake et al. Case number 2024R-159.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, this too is a situation where the report was filed within 4 days of the due date for a late filing of the 2023 annual report. It was due on January 31, filed on February 4th. Someday I'll get my months all correct. My recommendation currently is to find a violation, impose a fine of $100. Again, no response was submitted, but we could have Mr. Blake sworn. He could make a statement to the commission and that would change my.
True, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes. Greetings, I'm Randy Reeves from Suffolk County, Akron, Ohio. This is an oversight, and I do understand that you have rules and regulations. I do ask you to extend to myself a bit of grace for this first time violation, first time running. Did lose in the primary, continue to stay active and on the Indian Triangle, West Side Akron forward. And for that, I do ask me to extend a bit of grace. How you move.
Very good. Are there any questions? Thank you for traveling to be with us.
You should carpool.
You
I had to rent a car and come on down, like, you should have carpooled. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, thank you for your kindness and grace towards us, as a commission as well. Is there any dialogue members or a motion for that matter?
Madam Chair, make a motion that we find the defendant, I'm sorry, respondent in violation, but imposing no fine.
Very good. Is there a second? Okay, very good. There is a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All in opposition? Okay, very good. That passes with a 7-0 vote. Thank you so much for your time. Safe travel home.
Thank you so much.
All right, very good. Okay. Looks like we've got our friends from the last case back in the room. And it would make sense. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, but it's just I got emails on the
That's good.
process of
Making progress.
forwarding them to everybody that may have email access. You all can look at it. It's not just something of me.
Take 2 more minutes to review those upon us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, right.
You bring some.
We haven't opened the case back up yet. We were waiting on the executive director to forward us the documents, particularly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have hit the forward button. I can't guarantee that they get there. Right.
Yeah, I jokingly said 2 minutes, but just. Once I move it, there's another yard sign. Our name is 7 years of that.
Pat, did you get the board sent me the report. Do you actually have the report that was submitted?
I do not have the full report. I've asked for it, but I haven't received it yet.
Okay.
By text, my client tells me she has it and is sending it, but, I don't have the actual report yet.
I am just about to send it to you.
Great. Thank you.
The executive director, I guess. So my question was, this seems to me, stage, the type of thing would be better addressed, or either a continuance or a full hearing.
I can't necessarily disagree with you, but there are times when we'll kind of work through the process here, let's say, to put it that way, and if we can come up with sufficient evidence that's submitted to us as a part of this presentation. We have in the past, at least, gone ahead and tried to resolve a matter if it could be resolved.
And do you believe that if the receipts add up to less than 2,000, that's dispositive? Is that how it could be resolved?
It could, yes, but I would encourage everybody to look at the campaign finance report that I got before, that I forwarded along. I just sent it to you as well.
Which reveals your view what?
Which reveals that there's a problem with not accepting contribution of over $100 and not having that identified states. Because as I was looking at the contributions as a campaign finance report, there are two people that presumably gave $150 to the campaign committee.
Mr. Quinn, you just sent me these are purportedly all the receipts.
I just sent you exactly what I sent to Mr. Ricker.
Okay, there's a lot.
Given that
I sent you what I sent to Mr. Ricker.
given that revelation, it lent itself to a lawyer.
Considering the allegations that are here is the fact that the report was, incomplete or insufficient. I think at least part of it will show is that was certainly the case. I'm not sure that we could certainly set up a hearing and argue that, but if we did, we see some of the same evidence presumably, and not really get anything different than we already have here presented to us.
Well, you could ask questions of the respondents. I mean, I don't feel super comfortable just on my phone running through the receipts and trying to reconcile in real time. I kind of feel like we're trying to force a disposition. And I'm just not real comfortable with my ability to make a vote one way or the other.
Do we not have a campaign finance report dated May 10th? Yeah. 5 days prior to the one that we received that substantially differs?
They are inconsistent. So I think I can actually speak to this, and I'm not certain, what is attached to the cover page that you have is actually noted as an amended report. So the cover page that I submitted that is attached to Ms. D'Angela's response, you'll notice an amended report. And I have received from Mr. Richter, and perhaps you have as well, the original report, and that's what's dated 5/10/2024.
Yeah, I do know the amendment.
Yeah, so I think that may explain the discrepancies. One is the what I provided amends what was written about. Yeah.
Amendment, how USPS receives 11781, 98, 108, 10890, 10870 be amended to list direct mail at 1711.
So if you add those figures up, right, the 98, the 108, the 108, the 117, and I've eliminated the cents, you get, I believe it's about $434. I think the evidence that you already have in front of you is that mail piece was on behalf of and reference to candidates. The respondent and another one, so you split it in half of 434 is 217.
I have a question. If they split it in half, then she should then have a receipt from the other candidate, correct? Because that would be the total cost that came out of her campaign account. She would still need to show and have a receipt from the candidate that she shared that ballot with. Because that candidate then owes for that half, correct?
That would be correct, and I'm not sure how that mechanically happened, but the import here is that Ms. D'Angelo's expenditure is 217.
The total amount would be 270. So I guess
And Jim, because I was just given this David today, and I'm sure with Ms. Davis's question, like, we showed the cop is social, I guess the only receipt here for the cop social is 150, and if I understand now, the argument is, well, for two candidates, she paid 75, Ms. Davis is correct, there should be another receipt. Also, if you look at the ad, which is at B1, the coffee social says there's going to be baskets for raffle. Well, who donated those? Where's cost of the coffee?
And if I could, Madam Chair, Plaintiff's concern, we have an affidavit provided when the hearing began. We have documents that are getting circulated in hearing. We have questions that remain unanswered. And it would seem to me that either a continuous or full hearing would be appropriate. I think it's unfair to the committee that we be asked to address in such a haphazard way. That's my.
do you have permission?
So, well, I would ask the executive director, I just struggle between whether a continuous or a full hearing would be appropriate. I don't know what your thoughts around.
I mean, after looking at things a little more and certainly hearing comments from the commission, looking at things, I think hearing would probably be appropriate. And considering what we're seeing for us and the questions that are being bandied about.
No, appreciate your wisdom on the topic, and I would move to a full hearing.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to move this case to, several seconds, many seconds, to move this case to a full hearing. All in support, signify by saying aye. Aye. All in opposition. That passes to vote 7-0. So we will see you gentlemen soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Sorry for tripping over myself today. But
Next slide. We are going to be down to the case grouping, so please start, right, for group recommendations.
We still got one more preliminary review, case number 2024G-015. Penny, which is Tussie. Search for respondent conducted certain campaign activities starting on December 3rd. Digital period failed to file campaign finance report as required by statute. The respondent submitted a response which has all been circulated to you, which they states engaged in accounting business to handle campaign finance filings. But only when they discovered that as they were trying to file other reports, that they completed it, but never submitted to the secretary's office. The company had the correct problem. It was discovered that a report was not made. And so anyway, both reports were late. Candidate indicates he plans to be present in the future when reports are due to file. My recommendation, based on the materials submitted, is to find violation and impose a fine of $50. I'm sorry, because the report to be filed.
5, number 7.
That was material. Item 7.
Item 7, page 5, Kenyak v. Tussie.
And so, Madam Chair, if I may, Director, did the respondent admit to campaigning before the designation was filed? So I was wondering.
So,
It's here that, he had hired someone, right, to do it. Starting in trouble with all the Richards and those sort of so many.
just trying to keep you informed.
Commissioner Fairway, would you be talking about the website that was developed and created, like a service running for you? I don't know. And it had a disclaimer, but it didn't actually, you know,
Yeah. I don't get it. I agree with the executive director's recommendation. I just need to put option.
It is, he does acknowledge that, some sort of activity was conducted in 2023, which would allow him to file an annual report. As I'm reading it, it does specifically state what was done. That appears to be issued on the first filing in the office, thinking that because this was a 24 primary, no annual report for 20 was needed. In fact, they attempted to file a 23 pre-primary. Told them the secretary that it needed to be an annual report. So, there's an acknowledgement that they did, and even if you don't aggressively campaign, if you have created a campaign, if you file that designation, you've got an obligation to file something that reflects the nature of your activity. In this particular case, an annual report.
Members. Motions.
The recommendation of the executive director.
So,
The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
aye.
All in opposition, signify by saying two. Seeing there are none, that motion passes 7 to 0. Ready for group recommendations? And we are, yeah, absolutely. So we move on to group recommendations withdrawn by the Board of Elections. It's item number 30, Danny Ivers et al. Case number 2024R-118.
Just acknowledgement of what it's withdrawn as soon as the board makes that request.
Okay.
Further action is necessary.
Very good. So the next grouping, the committee terminated pursuant to Commission Advisory in 97 ELC-04. As the candidate treasurer is deceased, there are 2 cases. Obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. Did you have anything?
No, when the board submitted their referral to us, they reflected that the candidate was the treasurer in 110, and the treasurer for the other organization had both passed. And so that's my recommendation based on commission's advisory opinion. It's maybe some of them.
So as it relates to case numbers 2024R-110 and 2024R-112, is there any conversation or a motion on the matter? And we have the motion in a second. Seeing no other questions, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. This vote passed 7 to 0. The next group being good cause. Do you have any specific outliers you'd like to address?
No, as my brief little outline states there, these are cases, the respondents had no priors. Report was filed approximately, but some fair 2 weeks, so we're only a couple of days late. A response was submitted, and so my recommendation on these matters is to find a violation, but for good cause not opposed to fine, while referring the matter for further prosecution.
So as it relates to case numbers 2024R-098, 099, 103, 105, 109. I apologize, 109 has passed. Apologize.
No, you're fine.
-123, -130, -131, -136, -137, -138, -139, -140, -141, -142, -143, -144, -145, -146 and -151. Is there any conversation, questions, or a motion?
Second.
All right, I was hoping one was adjourned second. All right, having both motions, all in favor signify by saying aye. All in opposition signify by saying nay. Hearing none, that motion passes 7-0 for all of those cases. Move on to the $50 fine category. Looks like there's a written explanation, but Phil, do you care to speak into it?
Not any further, you see my recommendations to fine violation, impose a fine of $50 standard, and then the various cases that I've reflected as being kind of out of the ordinary. I'll be glad to answer any other questions the commission may have.
So as it relates to cases 2024R-102-108-115-122, -127, -128, 128, 134, 154, 156, and 158. Are there any questions, conversation, or motions?
So. Second.
Okay, seeing that we have the motion in a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes 7-0 for all of these cases. Moving on to the $100 fine category, Phil.
You see the one explanation I have there for a particular case. Other than that, all the other matters, aside from the two that we've already dealt with, were situations where they filed, report was filed and no response was submitted. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Okay, as it relates to cases 2024R-100, 104, 106, 107, 147, 148, 155, I apologize, and 155. Are there any questions, comments, or motions? I come back to motions. Good.
Second.
All right, having a motion in a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Okay, that motion passes 7-0. Moving on to $150 fine category. Bill, do you have any?
These are situations where the report was filed. There was a prior violation in each case, and so my recommendation now is to find a violation and impose a fine of $150.
It relates to cases 2024R-101 and -132. Are there any questions, conversations, or motions?
So.
Very good.
Second.
Second. Okay, thank you. As we have a motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. Moving on to the reconsideration of all outstanding matters, vacate the previous findings, consolidate all cases, find a violation, impose a fine of $250, declare the committee terminated section.
Yeah.
We have one agenda item, citizens for change at all.
This is a case out of Butler County where we had a number of priors. If you look at the worksheet, you see what I'm talking about. I got calls not only from the treasurer, but you can also see the outline that I put in the ICW. I work with the Board of Elections. The last actual report until recently, when the treasurer tried to file something recently, was reflected that there was an outstanding debt. Board sent me the campaign finance report, and it was to a law firm in Cincinnati. It's gone through a couple of iterations in the intervening period. I reached out to that law firm. They got back to me reflecting that they had actually forgiven the debt. I don't have my ICW in front of me. I think it was 2019. And so there was nothing else there. The gentleman indicated it was a committee he was working with two other gentlemen with. They both passed away. He's still alive. And so he's kind of in a situation where he's not sure exactly what else he needs to do. Very long. And so this recommendation is much out of the ordinary. And there is, he has indicated that the treasurer has indicated there's $250 remaining in the campaign account. And so that's the basis for my recommendation of imposing a fine of $250 that allows him to clear out the campaign fund and get the committee terminated. I'll be glad to answer any other questions you may have, but I think I've pretty well stated circumstances in this case.
So as it relates to case number 2024R-116, are there any questions or motions?
I'd just like to say, Madam Chair, I appreciate the executive director work and digging through a lot of these matters, in particular this one, to get to a solid resolution. So I move to adopt the executive director's recommendation.
Okay, so we have a motion in a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All in opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes 7-0. Thank you for your work, Bill. All right, moving on to the 10,500 plus 100 a day category with reconsideration option. We have 3 cases. Bill, do you care to?
No, I mean, they're pretty straightforward, local failure to file cases back again. And that 100, the 10,500 reflects the maximum $100 a day for 105 days from the annual filing date of January 31 to today's date.
I also want to echo Commissioner's remarks. I appreciate these explanations being put simple for me as well on the agenda. Thank you for that, Bill. Case numbers in question are 2024R-114, -119, and -121. Is there any conversation, questions, or a motion from you?
Madam Chair, I will reserve my typical color on all of these matters for today, since we've got other things to do, but please, thank you. Is it? Nope.
It let me down.
Is that a motion?
No.
Thank you.
Accident death, is there comments on these or? You're killing me.
Is that a
Yeah.
comment?
Please do not.
Lack of a comment.
In order to save time.
Just
I feel like you're all waiting on me to go in and say 3-minute commentary that I always give. And so
Wow.
I'm just not going to do that today.
Okay.
I would happily second Commissioner Polkey's.
Was there an original motion? Did
There
you
was.
slide in a motion?
I tried.
I heard Mr. Polkey make a motion. I reflected it.
All right, well, I appreciate that motion, that second, that commentary, I know commentary. Having heard all of that, all in favor of the motion as stated, signify by saying aye. Aye. All in opposition, hearing none, those pass with a vote of 7-0. Last or continuance for service, I will go ahead and do that. If you need to
It's helpful, only for the record, but yes.
Okay, those cases are 2024R-111, -113, -117, -120, -124, -125, -126, -133, -135, -149, -150, -153, -157, and -160. The last case we will have today is a full hearing. And number 1 under full hearings, Ohio Auditor of State et al. v. Again, case number 2023G-023. Those that are here to testify, feel free to come forward. If you care to skip, I think it's very round them up.
Yeah. The other one. Which you can probably find. Yeah, I will introduce the case to the commission, Madam Chair, members of the commission. This is a complaint filed with us by the Auditor of State, asserting that the respondent paid for certain campaign items, credit card of the Hocking County Agricultural Society, and then improperly reflected the person's in-kind contributions on campaign finance report. So that's the issue that we're dealing with is campaign finance violations, an improper campaign finance report, and that no person shall knowingly conceal or misrepresent contributions given or received under 3517-13G. We have here Robert Smith, your Cherry from the Auditor's Office, and you're Mr. Trott.
Yes, sir.
And Lucas Trott, who is counsel here on behalf of Ms. Dickin. So we have the parties here present, Madam Chair.
Very good.
Yeah.
If the complainant needs to, and obviously don't need to be sworn in if you want to representative.
Is the complainant.
He's the complainant. Okay, so he'll be, yeah. Well, you're gonna have an opening statement and correct respond. Okay,
Correct.
well, if he's gonna take testimony, we'll get his we'll swear him at that time. You go ahead and make your opening statement.
Thank you. Members of the commission, thank you. Jessica Dickon was elected secretary of the Hocking County Ag Society. And she held that role from October of 2019 until she resigned December 21st, 2022, to take the position as the newly elected Hocking County Commissioner. In her position as secretary of the Ag Society, she had control of one of the Ag Society's credit cards. She filed her petition to run for the Hocking County Commissioner position in January of 2022. She was elected on November 8th, 2022, and her election was certified by the Hocking County Board of Elections on November 22nd, 2022. The matter before this commission relates to her actions during the campaign. On March 25th, 2022, she purchased 500 flyers, 3 custom car magnets that read "Elect Jessica Dickon County Commissioner" from Vistaprint for $190.36. She paid for these using the Hocking County Ag Society credit card that was issued to her name. On March 24th of 2022, she purchased 500 red and white ink pens that read "Elect Jessica Dickon Hocking County Commissioner" from 4 Imprint for $241.59. She paid for those using the Hocking County Ag Society credit card issued in her name. On April 20th of 2022, she filed an Ohio campaign finance report showing both of those purchases as in-kind contributions from herself. She included copies of the invoices for both of those in the report. On May 6th, 2022, she purchased 200 yard signs, total 215 yard signs of varying sizes, which read "Elect Dickon" from Hawks Nest, a printing company located in Logan, Ohio, for $3,460. She paid for those using the Hocking County credit card issued in her name. On June 9th, 2022, she filed an Ohio campaign finance report with Hocking County Board of Elections showing this purchase as an in-kind contribution from herself and included a copy of the invoice with the report. She never had authority from the Hocking County Ag Society to use their credit card for these purchases or to expend Ag Society funds for her campaign. These credit card bills were paid by the Ag Society using Ag Society funds. Who put forth the Jessica Dickon knowingly concealed or misrepresented campaign contributions given or received in her campaign for the office of Hocking County Commissioner on the 2 financial reports mentioned that filed this matter. Thank you.
Would the respondent also make a statement?
Madam Chair, good afternoon. I will submit to this commission that our presentation today is going to be rather limited. Frankly, it's not going to address the substance of the allegations contained in the complaint. And the reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, is because Ms. Dickon is presently under indictment in Hocking County Court of Common Pleas for conduct as described by Mr. Smith, which is contained in that indictment amongst other alleged transgressions. At this point, I'm going to save my argument for closing argument, but given the fact it's not in Ms. Dickon's interest, nor would I allow her to make any statements today relative to the substance of this allegation.
Aaron Cherry to
Would be sworn. What we'll do is I'm just going to take that chair and move it in here, if you wouldn't mind. So then, yeah, I mean, you can be sworn, and then Mr. Smith frequently has questions, Mr. Trump may cross, etc.
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Can you say your name, please?
Aaron Cherry.
And where are you employed, sir?
I'm with the Ohio Auditor State.
For how long?
I've been here since August 1st of 2022.
And what is your position with the Auditor's Office?
I'm a fraud investigator. I solely investigate financial fraud cases within the state of Ohio public funds.
And what if any is your background in law enforcement?
I have 15 years law enforcement experience. I started at the city of Nelsonville, and I went to the Hocking County Sheriff's Office. I've had roles as police officer, deputy, detective, lieutenant, and task force officer, United States Marshal Service, and just 23 major functions.
So you're a certified law enforcement officer in the state of Ohio.
I am.
At what point did you become aware of allegations made against Jessica Day?
There was a complaint that the auditor state received on May 24th, 2023.
And who is Jessica Day?
Jessica Dickman is right now she is under suspension, but as a Hocking County Commissioner at the time, the complaint alleged, she was a former secretary for the Hocking County Tax Division.
What were her duties as an society secretary?
Typical secretary duties, she would go to board meetings, compile meeting minutes, make purchases of tax society related products, utilize the credit card, collect money for fair vendor contracts, organize events, fairs, also just anything that was necessary that the Ag Society needed to function with.
Did the Ag Society have credit cards?
They did.
How many credit cards were issued and were they issued?
Depending on the time, but as far as the complaint, initially it was credit cards that had her name on it, and then also the board president at the time.
In reviewing, did you have an opportunity to review all of the credit card expenditures for both credit for the entire credit card during her time period as secretary?
We did. We sent bank records and got credit card statements for those accounts during her time as the secretary.
And how many purchases roughly did Mr. Ogle make?
As far as a specific number, there was not very many.
And what else was taken?
She had several transactions.
Did she have the majority of the transactions that were made by the Ag Society?
Correct.
What was her tenure? What was her time period with the Ag Society as secretary?
She was sworn in on October 8th, 2019, and she resigned on December 21st of 2022.
What was the reason for her resignation?
She resigned because she wanted to take a position with the Hocking County Commissioner's Office.
And was she an elected member or an elected secretary?
She was elected in the general election on November 8th of 2022, and the results were certified by the Hocking County Board of Elections on November 2nd, 22.
And when did she file her petition to run for county commissioner?
She filed her petition on January 31st of 2022.
And what were the results of that election?
She won that election.
Handing back to the North States to an A. Do you recognize what A is?
I do. This is the general election official certification results that I obtained through a public records request through the Hocking County Board of Elections.
And she was certified and elected Hocking County commissioner.
She was sworn in on December 27th of 2022.
You mentioned that the auditor's office had received a complaint. What was the general nature of which started this investigation?
The general nature of the complaint was that the former secretary, Jessica Dickman, had obtained cash payments for vendor fair contracts and failed to deposit them in the Hocking County Tax Society's bank account. And then the second part of it was that there was over $4,000 in fraudulent transactions that was supposed to be paid by the Hocking County Tax Society in order to be disputed. However, when asked upon Jessica Dickman to do so, she never initiated that dispute and has ceased all communication with the Tax Society.
Now, when looking through their, just limiting your testimony to the specific transactions relevant to the board, or to this commission today, did you review those? What documents did you review as part of the investigation? What results?
Reviewed various records, but obtained invoices from different vendor companies, subpoenaed bank records. So we got checkbook accounts of the Hocking County Tax Society, credit card accounts, also personal accounts of Jessica Dickman.
Did you review the records of the Hocking County Board of Elections?
We did. We reviewed Ohio campaign financial reports where I did the public records request.
Did you find in going through those reports as well as going through the credit card transactions, any transactions that caught your attention?
Yes, on the pre-primary campaign finance report, there was 2 transactions that caught my attention. that was filed on April 20th of 22.
Okay, and what were those transactions?
For imprint and Vistaprint.
Hand you that, Mr. Mark states to the, what is the,
This is an invoice from, this is a Vistaprint invoice that is dated Friday, March 25th, 2022. It is for 500 flyers and 3 custom card magnets. That is all for elect Jessica Dickens, County Commissioner.
Did you determine how that invoice was paid?
Determined the invoice was paid by reviewing the bank records, the credit card statements, and it was listed on the credit card statement.
Which credit card statements?
The April of 22 credit card statement.
For the Ag Society.
It was.
And you mentioned another transaction involving for imprint.
There was a imprint and Vistaprint. Those both transactions were on the April of 22 credit card statement.
And you do that, so it's C, what is that?
This is the for imprint invoice.
What is that for purpose?
This is the purchase for 500 Javelin red and white ball pen or ink pens. So like Jessica Dickens, Commissioner.
Is that, is there a copy of the pen as well? What's on that invoice?
There was a copy of the pen and plus the invoice.
And what was the amount of that?
It's $241.59.
And were you able to determine how that purchase was paid for?
It was paid for the Hocking County Ag Society's credit card. Both the for imprint and the Vistaprint transactions, I verified that those were paid out of the Hocking County Ag Society's general checking account to pay the credit card bill on April 26, 2020.
So ultimately, Hocking County Ag Society funds paid for the purchase of
They did.
those two invoices. Did you have occasion to interview Ms. Dickens on July 12, 2023?
They did.
Was she represented by counsel at that time?
She was, at that time, it was Karen.
Did you ask her about the for imprint purchase?
I did. She said that, yes, I purchased those.
Were you able to pursue that question any further from that point?
I was not the attorney interviewing at that time.
On these two purchases, has Ms. Dickens ever reimbursed the Ag Society for those purchases?
She has not. I verified with the Hocking County treasurer or Ag Society treasurer and by subpoena bank records reviewing it, that there were no payments ever made back to the Hocking County Ag Society for those personal purchases.
You previously mentioned the Ohio Campaign Finance Report on April 20th, 2022. I'm handing you that marked exhibit D. What is that?
This is the April 20th, 22 signed campaign finance report, the primary.
And are the two transactions you just specified to records are reflected on that form?
Yes, those invoices that I collected are also the same invoices that was placed in the campaign finance report. And also,
on what page are those written down on the declaration or on the disclosure?
the second page for the in-kind contributions received.
And she declared those as being paid by them.
She paid them as her being the name of the contributor.
Now, hand you that for exhibit E. What is exhibit E?
This is the April of 2022 Ag Society credit card statements.
Are the two transactions you just referenced reflected on that credit card statement?
They are on April 24th.
And that is the statement from the Hocking County Ag Society credit card.
It is.
And is that under, is it broken down by name as far as which credit card was used?
It is. It has Jessica Dickens and Eddie with both.
But in terms of the transactions, are they separated?
They're separated in the purchases in question under Jessica Dickens' card.
Now, you mentioned there was another. Did you find any other transaction?
Not on the credit card statement. I did find another transaction on the July credit card statement of the Hocking County Access.
And where was that?
It was with the Hawks Nest.
What is the Hawks Nest?
A local printing company.
Local to Logan, Ohio?
Yes.
And did you obtain the copy of the invoice from the Hawks Nest?
I did.
And that Mark stated or exhibit F.
I obtained a copy of this invoice that was dated or created on May 6th of 2022. It also has a pay date stamped on this invoice for 6/22/22. However, the credit card statement has a transaction date of 6/21/22. And that is for the elect Jessica Dickon, various size quantities of yard signs in the amount of $3,460.
So how many yard signs were purchased?
There was a 100 or 200 of the yard signs, and then there was 11 4x8 and 4x6 yard signs.
And were you able to determine how that invoice was paid?
It was paid by the Hocking County Nice Society credit card that was listed under Jessica Dickens' name.
Can you do that, Mr. Mark, exhibit G? Could you specify what exhibit G is?
G is, again, the Hocking County Nice Society's July credit card statement.
And what is reflected, say,
The transaction with Hawks Nest for the same amount.
under which credit card you should.
Jessica Dickens' name.
And was that ultimately paid by the ag side?
It was, the balance carried over into the August credit card statement, and it was ultimately paid out of the Hocking County Ag Society's checking account on August 29th of 22.
Was the ag society ever reimbursed by Jessica Dickens for that purchase?
I verified by the Hocking County Ag Society treasurer and by the bank records that there was no payments made back to Ag Society.
And handing you that, Mark, exhibit J, you previously, there's the second Ohio campaign finance report. Can you identify what exhibit J is?
This is again for the Ohio campaign financial report, it's post primary dated June 9th, 2022.
And on that, what is reflected in that particular report?
The second page has the Jessica Dickens as contributor for signs in the same amount of $3,460 debated by 6/22.
And are there any invoices?
Cash invoice, the Hopkins invoice, that's still paid, Hocking County Texas credit card, and some amount, same description.
Did you obtain a statement from Hawks Nest related to that transaction?
I did.
And you that remark states exhibit H. Who is that a statement from?
This statement is from Nick Hawks Nest, Angela McKee.
What did she say?
I obtained it from her on July 25th, 2023. And she said in mid-March of 2022, Jessica Dickens came into Hawks Nest in Logan, Ohio, to place an order for 200 elect Dickens yard signs and 11 large elect Dickens signs for her upcoming election. She then came in again in mid-April of 2022, placed an additional order for 4 large elect Dickens signs. On June 21st, Hawks Nest received a payment made in person by Jessica Dickens by credit card ending in 1907, which I verified that to be a Hocking County Ag Society credit card, for a total of $3,460 for the above said election signs.
Did you obtain a statement from, first off, who is Eddie Ogle?
Eddie Ogle was the board president for the Hocking County Ag Society.
Did you ask him about the knowledge your board had related to the use of Ag Society funds for the purchase of campaign materials? I guess.
I asked the board president if the Jessica Dickens had at any time had permission to use the Ag Society credit card for any type of personal purchase.
Did he provide you with a statement?
And they provided me with a statement, and they said him and the vice president both signed it on July 13th, 2023. That during Jessica Dickens' time as secretary, beginning October 2019 through December 2022, there were no in-kind or monetary donations approved to be made to Jessica Dickens' candidate. There also were no purchases approved for any personal or campaign-related transactions, and only the credit cards registered to
What exhibit did the West have?
here's my.
No further questions. Witness.
There's no questions.
Yeah, see if she has any questions.
Did any members of the commission have questions? Very much.
Thank you.
We have no further evidence presented at this time. We would submit the exhibits that were testified to by the witness.
There's no objection to their admission.
So you rest, Bob?
I rest.
Thank you.
At this juncture, we would make the obligatory motion to dismiss no further argument. We also have no witnesses to present today.
So we do have a motion to dismiss submitted by the respondent before us. So the action was there. So the commission can have questions, et cetera.
I'm sure if I could for the director, the upcoming criminal trial, it's like August this year.
Somewhere in,
How does the standard of review differ? Two matters, elections commission versus criminal preponderance here.
yeah, right.
And I presume we're not precluded from deciding this case based upon that in any case. In other words, we're free to decide here regardless.
Yeah, because this, I mean, certainly there are certain elements that kind of make run parallel. But I would say yes, because we're dealing with these campaign finance issues for which there isn't currently anything of which I'm aware submitted to the court there, because before a court can take action on a matter there, the commission has to take action on anything that's in our jurisdiction, as this matter particularly is. And so, excuse me, you know, for us to take action and potentially then, you know, and obviously the whole panoply of everything before us, finding good cause, opposed to find or referring for prosecution. You know, if we decide to refer for prosecution, then we go back to them and they can presumably include that with the other findings that took up this.
What say you about the suggestion from Attorney Szymanski that we wait until the criminal matter is resolved before issuing our determination?
We certainly could do that, and we've done it in other cases, but then, you know, where we were asked to do so, and there was not an objection from at least some of the complainants. My inclination would be more, you know, we have received certain evidence here at this point. My recommendation or my thought would be, let's go ahead and act on it. We have it before us, pass it along to the prosecutor, to the auditor's office, for them to include with anything else, and allow the criminal proceedings to take place as they will.
And then the other question that I have is counsel for the complainant. As it relates to the penalty, what would the suggestion be from your perspective?
Based upon the law, the state would we would recommend forfeiture of office. She's under suspension currently, but that is the outcome of the criminal case. Recommend is one of the penalties available for forfeiture.
But I don't believe we have the ability to forfeit.
You would have the ability to vote on it, and that is a matter that would have to be taken forward before the Hockey County Council.
Right. That's not an authority to, you know, that's a matter of the prosecution. Correct.
So, fine restrictions. That be in multiple instances, or is it related to one?
The commission hasn't necessarily always taken it that way, but certainly we could look at it that way. Yes, it's, you know, stuck with $1,000 for each particular instance.
The chair to the director. So for each incident, that would be each transaction that credit card machines for, is that a total of 5?
Maybe quicker to ask them, but I was wanting to, we had signs, flyers, and or checks for different. Thank you. So the amount does exceed the excess limitation that we had around the fines. So in that weighs on your decision making. It's worthy of consideration for the one, at least one of these violations would be in excess of $1,000.
Fine, and the referral.
Yeah, the referral, we give them, right.
With the action, would then be able to consider fine addition that thought.
No, that's, you know,
It goes with it.
Yeah, that's, I mean, statutory provision makes this, the allowance for the fine. Just, when you look at what the commission has as its authority, after it presumably finds a violation, when it finds a violation, it does a fine, it can refer for prosecution, or it can find good cause not to do either of those things.
Madam Chair, if I-
Yeah, I apologize.
would the appropriate case that Mr. Richter to be as one outcome to find good cause and refer the matter for prosecution?
It's not finding good cause, it would be to find violation and to refer the matter for further prosecution.
There's no further discussion.
Well, we're going to have closing from them.
Yeah, and
I'll have a few questions.
Oh, I did. Is there any mechanism for making whole the Ag Society for the finances, or is that just us at this point?
Not, that is not an authority that the commission has available to them, no.
If I may answer, it's under the indicted case, the common police court under the current indictment has that report. In fact, it is available for.
I appreciate that clarity.
Question to the director. And I'm sorry, different question, but if we would for prosecution, is that just redundant to the current case?
No, because these provisions, these statutory provisions are not currently a part of that case. And
Also, what you'd be referring it for would be the question of the penalty for this specific statutory violation, not the penalty of any criminal violation.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to piggyback on Commissioner Knight, just about clear, so I have you done my question. If we impose a fine, then we are not going to prosecution. We have to make one. However, there is a written case that will still move forward regardless. But if we were to refer to prosecution, it would all go over there and they have the responsibility or the ability to then impose a fine for the violations that are before the commission today.
In excess of the term of office. Are there any other questions, deliberations at this time, or be ready for closing statements?
closing statements.
Just briefly, we would submit that the evidence presented for this commission establishes that that Jessica Dickon, suspended Hocking County Commissioner, did in fact violate the terms of the statute by misrepresenting contributions in two separate financial reports filed with the Hocking County Board of Elections in April of 2022. She's 2022, and it misrepresented it that violate the law and should be found to violate the law. And we would respectfully request this matter be referred for prosecution. Thank you.
Thank you. Sitting here listening, I just, maybe Mr. Smith can elucidate this, yes, can respond. I do have the indictment in front of me. Includes 2 counts of election falsifications, well, just 5th degree with the stipulation therein. Saying pursuant to section 3517.13 of the Ohio Revised Code, the person you know seals or misrepresents contributions given will receive if the offender is a person.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, if I could.
I have to get this one. I'm sorry.
A little slower.
I'll slow it down. I just got a block of text here to read through. As I said, I have the indictment here in front of me for Hocking County on police case number 23 CR 0174 State of Ohio suggests opinion. That indictment includes 2 counts, counts 4 and 5. Those are election falsification, felonies in the 5th degree. Included in that count within the indictment is a stipulation. Furthermore, A person who knowingly conceals or misrepresents contributions given or received, if the offender is a person who was nominated or elected to public office, shall forfeit the nomination or to the office to which the offender was elected, or both, pursuant to ORC section 3517.13G and 3517.992C. So, I mean, we might be hitting a procedural hiccup here that I'm not entirely privy to. Certainly the underlying alleged conduct is certainly contained herein in this indictment that's currently being heard by this commission. If I understand Mr. Smith correctly, that only can be sought as a remedy should the Board of Elections or should the election commission, but okay, correct. Under those circumstances, of course, as I said, this case is pending indictment. She has requested a right to be heard by a jury. We're speeding towards that jury trial and preparing the same. At that juncture, we intend to present this case, and we hope that results in her ultimate acquittal. Thereafter, I mean, of course, if she is convicted, certainly financial repercussions will follow. As Mr. Smith said, the agricultural board in that scenario would be made whole through restitution, entitled to the same. So I mean, under those circumstances, we would just simply submit that. I mean, we were certainly under the impression that this was going to be going forward with the potential of there being a forfeiture of office regardless. So with that, we would rest and simply ask the defer to the board finish. But
Are there any questions of members of the commission?
Just so the record's clear, because I want to make sure we can pick up your language. You said that you would defer to the board's decision in that respect. For sure, yes. Okay.
Madam Chair, Mr. Richter, I believe the respondent made a motion to dismiss.
Yes.
Never acted on.
That is correct. That is still pending before us. I would recommend that we act, certainly we can approve it. We can also deny it, but I think we should act on that first, and then make a determination of what the commission wants to do with the case itself.
I would move to deny the motion to suspend.
second.
During the motion and the second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion passes 7-0.
Appropriate for the positive motion at this point.
Yes.
I would move to find violation or refer the matter to prosecution. Second.
That's the, our authority is, again, since the motion has been to find a violation, our authority would be to propose fine, sanction, refer for prosecution, or find good cause not to do so. So Kirchner's motion was to refer for prosecution, so that is what's before the commission. It's been seconded. Now it's a matter of taking a vote from the commission.
Okay, hearing the motion in a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All in opposition. Hearing none, that motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you would mind, since I'm lazy. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Very.
Where before, you'll have everything. Yep.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
You really need to the chair.
Like 4 years.
Maybe that time. I had 4 minutes.
That is all. We have covered the totality of the agenda, Madam Chair. Not sure if there's anything else the commission wants to ask or do anything.
I think we have one thing. I drew the short straw, but I think we were going to establish a bit of a committee to evaluate succession planning. And I understand that Ms. Davis has drawn the short straw as well.
I'm gonna sit at the lounge.
And my friend to the left is gonna join us, so I think.
You can draw any straw, any hay. No, nothing.
Was your meeting with yourself very?
By virtue of his independence.
Yeah, and I voted against. I nominated John as my proxy. That's it, no?
And you are the third, I presume?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Would you, Commissioner Kirchner, would you like that in form of a motion of the commission that we've asked that, or is that necessary?
It's necessary.
Okay.
And maybe we just acknowledge on the record.
Just acknowledge it.
Yeah, because it was the subject of earlier discussion that we're going to have a committee to evaluate succession planning.
Yep.
One Democrat, one Republican, one independent, as you just mentioned, and it will proceed to evaluate in due course and provide updates to the committee. I would say maybe on a monthly basis, not on a meeting by meeting basis, but on a monthly basis. That's the preference.
And I will say, I will follow up probably later today. I reached out to the person who I've been meeting with, started working with the governor's office, to just try to get from her, a reference of who I need to talk to, who I should talk to in the governor's office concerning the generality of this. I haven't got the response back yet. So I will follow up to see where that, see what's going on there.
Great.
And try and see, and hopefully that's something like that will happen to me. Maybe not, how long it takes to see somebody like that. And I'll keep you guys advised of where that's going. But right now, I'm waiting on a response back.
Yeah, so we'll work together and update the commission on that approximately a monthly basis.
When are we gonna start this officially?
Today is the commencement.
Today.
So by next meeting, maybe calendar. All right, very good. Wow. All right. She can't type done.
Yes.
All
Sorry.
right. Are there,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn if there's nobody else.
Second.
thank you, both commissioners. Motion and second being had, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None, 7-0, we're out of here.
And, right. Oh, good. Secure volley to the next one, correct?
Yeah. And I think, Bill,
So the meeting after that.
yeah, the only other one that I won't be able to attend is that one is in December, so we change days.
Okay.
You know.
Oh, and before you leave, I have not, I sent everybody a tentative schedule for.
I'll talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Mr. Knight has already got back to me and asked me to change 4 dates. I haven't done so. So I will.
That is your mistake.
Told her that this afternoon, to get it out. I know, if still, it didn't get a chance.